thought the animosity between Xbox and PlayStation fanboys was unreasonable? PC gamers often seem to loathe everyone and their obsolete consoles. But not this guy. I happen to respect all gaming devices, except for cell phones. That's a bridge too far. Welcome back to Signal Ridge. Today I'll be discussing my top 10 favorite PC games of all time. When going through gameplay footage and trying to pick out my top 10 favorite PC games, it really brought me back to an amazing era of gaming. Some of these games did what consoles could not do at that time, which was facilitate online multiplayer play. First game on the list, Oregon Trail 1.2. I probably threw you for a loop right there. This was the first PC game, aside from Doom, that I spent considerable time with. But I didn't play this game at home. I played it at school. In my 5th grade computer class, I worked diligently so that I could finish my work early so I could play Oregon Trail. This game exposed me to the elements of an RPG long before I played Final Fantasy III. Side note, I really remember enjoying the hunting minigames. Number 9, Doom. Of course this game would be on the list. It was the first FPS many of us ever played, and it's probably number 1 for most PC gamers. The enemies were abundant and relentless. I spent countless hours playing this game at my uncle's house, and it was the first PC game to truly tempt me away from my traditional consoles. That's gotta count for something. Number 8, XCOM Enemy Unknown Long War. This game is the first to be on this list that is not a true commercial release. Long War was actually a mod for Firaxis' reimagined XCOM. Yes, I'm counting mods for this list. The mod was so impressive that it convinced the team at Firaxis to get behind full mod support with the future XCOM 2. There were a number of welcome changes with this mod to the tactical team-based strategy game. Just to name a few, Long War allowed you to take more players into the fray, provided more inventory slots, created larger, more imposing enemies, and more. It also, as the name suggests, extended the length of the campaign by about 10 times what it originally was. Side note, the expansion XCOM Enemy Within was a tremendous game with its addition of the meld resource as well as the new enemies and the addition of mechs and biologically enhanced soldiers. And the Long War mod for that game was also incredible. But ultimately, I feel the original Long War mod deserves this number 8 spot. Number 7, Half-Life 2. I will never forget the incredible graphics and remarkably lifelike physics that the Source engine provided. Some of the more memorable moments include your first interaction with the Gestapo-like Combine soldiers, experiencing the dystopian atmosphere, the Doom buggy ride trying to outwit pursuing helicopters, and of course the acquisition of the gravity gun. Such an iconic game. Number 6, Command & Conquer Tiberian Sun. When it comes to RTSs, most people would probably pick a StarCraft or Warcraft entry, or maybe even Age of Empires, or Command & Conquer Red Alert 2. But for me, this is the definitive real-time strategy game. It was incredibly addicting. I remember playing multiplayer through a dial-up connection. Remember those days? Just so we know where I stand, Nod was my jam. That just rhymed. I should put that on a t-shirt. Number 5, XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. Yes, I am breaking my rule and including 2 entries from the same franchise. I don't give a damn. It's my channel. I make the rules. Rules are meant to be broken. By now, you've probably realized I'm a huge fan of the XCOM series. The permadeath feature of this franchise really gets you invested in your characters. You constantly remain fearful of losing one of your squad mates at all times. However, in this sequel, you do have the opportunity to rescue critically injured soldiers at the cost of one very vulnerable soldier who will have to carry that squad mate on their backs while also getting fired at simultaneously. The sequel to Firaxis' XCOM seemed to improve upon every aspect of gameplay and strategy. They fundamentally altered the gameplay by allowing your squad to stay stealthily concealed, adding yet another level of depth and complexity to the game. War of the Chosen was the last expansion to XCOM 2, and I should say that all of the expansions are great, but this one in particular offered zombies and 3 seemingly invulnerable soldiers that would continually taunt and challenge your squad mates. If you're skilled enough to bring them down, you will be granted some incredibly impressive weaponry. Number 4, CounterStrike. Not CounterStrike Source, the OG CounterStrike, the one commonly referred to by its last update, 1.6. Long before Xbox Live really made its debut with Halo 2, I was busy playing CounterStrike online. I hadn't really played an online competitive FPS like this until this game came around. Special thanks to the UMP, which helped me rack up my countless victories. CounterStrike blew me away and seemingly never got old. The formula was so simplistic yet highly engaging. Rescue or retain hostages, plant or defuse bombs, and kill your enemies. Those were your tasks. It is rather remarkable that the source material for this game, Half-Life, gave birth to such an epic multiplayer game that could stand on its own. I considered putting Half-Life on this list and in this particular spot to be more specific, but ultimately I could not deny the superiority of Counter-Strike. Number 3, World of Warcraft. I know you wouldn't take me as one of those guys, right? Right? My brother got me hooked on this game. He convinced me to play it just by me simply bearing witness to his own addiction to the game. I chose a Tauren warrior because people got no love for the Tauren. I set out from my capital of Thunderbluff to discover a world of limitless potential and quite a few meaningless side quests. I remember my brother got frustrated with me because all I really wanted to do was simply travel through the various parts of Azeroth, not realizing that it would mean certain death if I didn't take leveling up seriously. One of my favorite memories was when I first arrived in Stranglethorn Vale, or Booty Bay I guess, not that kind of booty. I swam to one of the deepest parts off the coast, and I found a sunken ship, which I thought was really cool. I swam down, ventured inside, and looted a treasure chest. And what did I find? A common sword. And nearly drowned trying to swim back to the surface. I felt like I was the first to accomplish such a task, because otherwise the chest would have been empty, right? My brother had to explain to me that the sword I found was basically useless. But I didn't care. I felt like I discovered this thing. Fast forward several years, countless raids, the endless grind of multiplayer matches, the acquisition of all my Warlord gear, then came the eventual release of Burning Crusade. And that's about the time that I checked out, because all the greens became better than my legendary weapons. Number 2, Battlefield 1942, Desert Combat. Second game on this list to be a non-commercial release, Desert Combat was a mod to EA's Battlefield 1942. When the game was first released, I was blown away. The notion of commandeering any sort of vehicle in my quest to capture enemy spawn points was, well, revolutionary. Not to mention there were individualized roles for soldiers. You had medics and your general assault. It was a different kind of game. But then the mod Desert Combat came about, and it completely changed both the pace and the dynamics of gameplay. You had A-10s, F-16s, Apache helicopters, which were my favorite, Bradley tanks. You had every sort of modern vehicle at your disposal. This mod was so successful and innovative that the members of its development were ultimately hired by EA to create an eventual sequel, which was Battlefield 2. Finally, numero uno, Aliens vs. Predator Gold Edition. This was my first foray into the true FPS experience. I don't consider the original Doom to be a true FPS because you could not control the vertical axis of camera movement. But this game was so much more than an FPS. It offered 3 different campaigns. You had the Marine, the Predator, and the Alien. Each came with their own unique abilities and challenges. The dark atmosphere of many levels made the Marine feel especially vulnerable, although you were granted flares and the use of night vision to cope with the constant onslaught of xenomorphs. Side note, the facehuggers, most terrifying thing I've ever experienced. As the Predator, you were granted several modes of vision, just like in the films. And your weapons provided ample defense, but you had to be accurate. The Xenomorph could move within vents that were inaccessible to the other classes, and also move along any surface like ceilings, which could also feel disorienting, so that was sort of a challenge. But you took substantially more damage than your counterparts as the alien. All in all, AVP Gold Edition was a great and well-balanced title. That's all for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like down below. Please, please, please provide me with your recommendations for my next Top 10 Tuesday in the comments section, and I'll catch you guys next time.